Hello, good afternoon everyone, and top stories of the news at 3. Rivers Service Chiefs engage stakeholders, seek protection of lives, critical national assets. President Tinubu, governors to deploy 130,000 new forest guards nationwide over rising insecurity. House of Representatives move to make voting compulsory for Nigerians. Plus, JAMB begins rescheduling of UTME for affected 379,997 Southeast Lagos candidates. Do you love and care about River State and our peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. My name is Solomon Nelson Braid. In line with the directive of the sole administrator of River State, Vice Admiral Iboke Tebas, retired, service chiefs of River State, in their continued efforts to engage stakeholders, have held a meeting in Bonny local government area. A statement signed by Police Public Relations Officer Grace Iringekoko said the meeting focused on issues relating to security and welfare. She said the Commissioner of Police, River State Command, CP Olugbenga Adekpoju, who led other heads of security agencies, including the Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder, Nigerian Army 6th Division Garrison, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NCDC, and the Department of the State Services DSS, stated in his remarks that Bonny hosts critical national assets, including oil and gas facilities, which are vital to the economy of the local government, the state, and the nation. CP Adekpoju further stated that all complaints and recommendations gathered during the meeting would be communicated to the sole administrator for prompt action. In his welcome address, the administrator of Bonny local government area, Kingsley Banigu, noted that the stakeholders meeting was aimed at enhancing safety and security in the area. The visit concluded with an inspection of Bonny General Hospital and the modern primary school. CP Olugbenga Adekpoju reaffirmed the River State sole administrator's unwavering commitment to the safety and security of lives of all citizens and protection of critical national assets, while appealing for continued support and cooperation from the people of Nigeria. Away from that, President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of a national forest guard system and ordered the recruitment of over 130,000 armed operatives to secure the country's 1,129 forest reserves to curb escalating insecurity across Nigeria. The initiative approved during the expanded Federal Executive Council meeting mandates each state to recruit between 2,000 and 5,000 forest guards based on their capacity. The recruitment and training will be supervised by the Office of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Environment. A rough estimate of about 3,500 recruits per state will result in a recruitment of at least 130,000 forest guards across the states and the Federal Capital Territory. A statement released by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public Communication, Sunday Diary, on his X-handle titled Forest Guards, established by federal government, revealed that 11 states have operationalized forest guards, also known as forest security, but the plan is to arm and upscale the guards for the national security efforts. The federal government has restated its commitment to the development and deployment of information technology to advance education in Nigeria. Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alauza, gave this assurance at the 2025 Information Technology Professional Assembly held at the NAF Conference Center, Abuja, saying the government was aware of the importance of it in the 21st century and its potential for widening access to education at all levels. The annual IT Professionals Assembly, organized by the computer professionals, brought together industry players, academia, civil society, and all strategic stakeholders to deliberate on IT-based issues. The minister noted that information technology is a critical sector and the flagship of other professions, adding that at the government circle, it is a profession that is taken seriously in the course of the nation's aspiration for sustainable development. Alausa, whose speech was read at the event by a Deputy Director of Science Education, Federal Minister of Education, Oli Frank, however, expressed concerns over quackery in the profession, in the IT profession, while urging CPN to strictly ensure its regulations by ensuring that all individuals and corporate organizations that are into information technology practice register with the Council to allow for effective regulation of computer education and practice in Nigeria. Going further, a bill proposing mandatory voting in all elections for eligible Nigerians has successfully passed its second reading at the House of Representatives. The bill, sponsored by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, was debated extensively during Thursday's plenary session before it received overwhelming support to proceed to the next legislative stage. Despite having over 93 million registered voters as of the 2023 general elections, voter participation rates have continued to decline, with only about 27% of the registered voters casting their ballots in the last election. The proposed bill aims to make voting compulsory for all eligible citizens, a move intended to strengthen civic education engagement and ensure broader representation in governance. During the debate, Speaker Abbas emphasized that the bill would deepen Nigeria's democratic process by compelling citizens to participate in choosing the leaders, adding that the legislation, if passed, would include provisions for voter education, easy access to polling units, and clear guidelines for enforcement. Opposition to the bill centered on concerns over implementation challenges, particularly in rural areas and regions with security risks. Some lawmakers also questioned the feasibility of penalizing citizens for not voting, citing potential infringement on personal rights. Nevertheless, the bill was unanimously adopted through a voice vote and referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. Moving on, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has begun the rescheduling of the 379,997 affected candidates for another unified tertiary and matriculation examination. The rescheduling begins on Thursday after the registrar of the examination body, Professor Ishak Oloyede, made it known in a press briefing in Abuja. Professor Oloyede admitted errors in the just concluded exam affected 206,610 in 65 centers were affected in Lagos and 92 centers in Owerri zone, comprising of 173,387 candidates in the 5 states of the Southeast. The National Orientation Agency, NOAA, has commended the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, for its transparency in addressing the challenges that follow the recently concluded 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. A statement released by the agency's Deputy Director, Media and Communication, Paul Odeni, titled NOAA commends JAMB's transparency, urges further action on UTME errors, described it as a significant development reflecting the ethos of accountability in Nigeria's public institutions. Director General of NOAA, Larry Isa Onilu, lauded JAMB's registrar, Professor Ishak Oloyede, for his forthrightness in acknowledging the lapses encountered during UTME. He described this as a rare and commendable act of leadership, one that reflects a deep sense of institutional responsibility. Onilu emphasized that such transparency aligns with the principles of the National Value Charter, which mandates public institutions to uphold the highest standards of transparency and accountability. NOAA reaffirmed its commitment to fostering a governance culture and anchored in transparency, integrity, and mutual respect between citizens and institutions. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Nnaji, said the Federal Executive Council has approved the launch of 4 satellites to aid Earth observation and the fight against insecurity in the country. Nnaji said this at his 22nd National Council on Innovation, Science and Technology in Abuja with the theme Research, Develop, Innovate and Commercialize, a cycle for national prosperity. The minister said the satellites consisted of 3 Earth observation satellites and 1 radar aperture satellite. For the National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, the minister said there was an interministerial committee on research and innovation that was reviewing it and strategizing on the institution of the National Research and Innovation Fund. Nnaji noted that the cycle of research, development, innovation, and commercialization have built renowned economies and technological giants, adding that Nigeria should also tap into its potential. The minister explained that the 22nd edition of the council, which was scheduled to be held in 2024, was postponed to 2025 due to some contingencies. This is Rstv News at 3. Do you love and care about River State and our peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. You can subscribe and click on the notification bell for updates on our live feeds. In part 2 after the break, Mauritania former President Mohamed Aziz sentenced to 15 years for corruption. Crash in Mexico kills 21. And in sports, EPL, Maresca embraces pressure as Chelsea fight for Champions League spot. Details of these and more on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
I need the police that can respond to emergencies first.
I want the equipment I need to do my job.
I want a police that won't harass or arrest me for no just reason.
I want to be valued for my work, not feared by honest people.
I want a police that won't ask me anything for the boys.
I want a decent salary that is paid on time.
If it happen with good laws,
Proper funding,
Training.
And cooperation.
if it happen,
If it happens.
If it happen.
This is Rstv World News. We bring you world-class news, accurate, first-hand, entertaining, balanced analysis. Rstv, Channel 22 Port Harcourt.
Nigeria Customs Service Area Command said it facilitated 2,029 export trucks with a free on-board value of 16.9 billion naira between March and May 2025. The command also added that within the period under review, the National Export Supervision Scheme fee stood at 84.5 million naira. The Customs Area Controller in charge of the command, Dr. Ben Oramalugu, said this while showcasing some of the seized contraband to newsmen at the command. He also announced that the command, through commitment and professionalism, generated total revenue of 847 million naira within the period under review. Oramalugu maintained that the achievement reflects the command's sustained efforts at ensuring that all revenue leakages are blocked and every legitimate money due to the federal government is collected without compromise. He reiterated the achievements underscored the command's role as a critical trade enabler and contributor to national economic growth through efficient border management and support to local manufacturers. Uramalugo mentioned that the total value of these seized foreign coins is 48.9 million naira, stressing that the items are classified under Item 18 of Schedule 4 of the Common External Tariff, which prohibits the importation of silver or metal alloy coins not being legal tender in Nigeria. In our foreign scene, a Mauritanian appeal court has sentenced former President Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz to 15 years in prison and imposed a $3 million fine, escalating a previous five-year sentence handed down in 2023 for corruption charges. Aziz, a former military general who rose to power through 2 coups before serving as president from 2029 to 2019, was found guilty of money laundering and illicit self-enrichment. Investigators say he amassed over $70 million in assets during his decade in office and that he has remained in custody since his initial conviction last year. The trial has drawn international attention as a rare example of an African head of state being held accountable for corruption while in office. Mauritania, despite its vast natural wealth, including iron ore, gold, copper, oil, and natural gas, continues to face high levels of poverty. According to the United Nations, nearly 60% of the population lives below the poverty line, often working in informal jobs or agriculture. Aziz's sentencing could mark a pivotal moment in Mauritania's political and judicial history, signaling potentially stronger stands against corruption among high-level officials. However, the case remains politically insensitive in a country where institutions are still consolidating democratic norms. At least 21 people have been killed in a road accident in central Mexico. A government official, Samuel Aguilapala, said the 3-vehicle crash happened on the highway between Cucnopalan and Oaxaca in Puebla State. Mr. Pala said 18 people died at the scene and another 3 died later in the hospital, while several others were injured and are receiving medical attention, adding that the crash involved a tanker truck, a bus, and a van. Reports say the truck hit a bus when crossing into the opposite lane and then collided with a transport van head-on before tumbling into the ravine below and bursting into flames. There have been several severe accidents in Mexico highways in recent years. In February, dozens of people died in a bus crash in Tabasco, southern Mexico. Excuse me. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has landed in Turkey after he challenged Russian President Vladimir Putin over the weekend to meet him personally. Zelensky said he still hopes for a ceasefire with Russia starting Monday and that he will be waiting for Putin in Turkey personally after US President Donald Trump insisted Ukraine accept Russia's latest offer to hold direct talks in Turkey on Thursday. Ukraine, along with the European allies, had demanded Russia accept an unconditional 30-day ceasefire ahead of the talks. Moscow effectively rejected the proposal and called for direct negotiations instead. It was not clear if Zelensky was conditioning his presence in Turkey on the Monday ceasefire holding, and there was no immediate comment from the Kremlin on whether Putin would go. In 2022, the war's early months, Zelensky repeatedly called for a personal meeting with the Russian president, but was rebuffed and eventually enacted a decree declaring that holding negotiations with Putin had become impossible. Now on sports, Chelsea boss Enzo Maresca said he welcomes the pressure of potentially having to win the final 2 Premier League games to secure a place in next season's Champions League. The Blues sit 5th, which will be enough for a Champions League return after a 2-year absence, but are ahead of Aston Villa only on goal difference and are just 1 point better off than Nottingham Forest, who they travel to on the final day of the campaign. Chelsea was cruising towards a top 5 finish as Maresca's reign at Stamford Bridge got off to a flying start before a run of 5 wins in 16 games between December and April put them at risk of missing out. Maresca's men have also reached the Europa Conference League final, where they will face Real Betis on May 28. Chelsea's chances of finishing the season strongly have not been helped by Nicholas Jackson's red card in a 2-0 defeat to Newcastle last weekend that will see the Senegalese striker miss the rest of the Premier League season. Maresca does not have a natural replacement to call on, with Christopher Nkunku out injured and Mark Gui shot on match fitness. He talked down the option of playing wingers Pedro Neto or Tricky George in a more central role against United boss Ruben Amorim preferred 3-4-3-4 system. And that's it on the news. But just before we leave, a quick reminder: do you love and care about River State and our peace? Let's build and take her to greater heights. This is a task we must accomplish. You can subscribe and click on the notification bell for update on all our feeds. My name is Solomon Nasabret. I'll see you again at 7:30 World News. Stay with us.
Rstv.